Happy Wednesday to the 14 people watching this. Oh, 13. We just dropped it. I think he found out that Joe Cook wasn't here. He has luchador practice tonight, so he won't be joining us. I'm here with Justin Wells, and we're just talking absolute nonsense. We're going to have Eric join us a little bit later. He's currently on with a source. Guys, this is the opportunity to get that inside information that you just can't get anywhere. For example, how long have you been growing that beard, Justin?
Good question.
Probably it's a great question.
It's not because here's the thing. I try to keep it trim because once it gets to a certain length, it's just unkept. And so I'm a little jealous because you can pull that off. I bet in a week. I have to keep mine trimmed up, but I think the last time I shaved full on was probably a month ago, and so I just try to keep it short and clean and kept.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And to answer Geronimo's question, the only way that I'm allowed to do this or keep this going, these aren't energy drinks, Patrick. All right, we're going to get into that here in a second.
Yeah, I learned about that.
You know exactly what these are. The only way that I can absolutely keep this going is if I just never shave it, ever. Yeah. I can't. It has to, because there's just like this prepubescent thing I've got going on. Yours at least has some dignity and some gravitas in the sense that you've got, some white hairs in there. It's just absolute
Unfortunate. But here's the thing. I don't care about the grays or losing hair, which I'm not losing my hair yet. I'm sure that'll be, it's coming.
You're going to care about that.
I don't. So many guys care about that. I don't. Now I'm 46. So maybe this is a little, early, but you know what? Let's look. I'm here to party. So let's just
we all understand that. The problem that you and I have, Justin, is we have narrow heads. Okay. You and I would not do bald well. The only reason I grow this out is to give my head a decent, otherwise it's just like a pencil head.
You know what? You made a great point.
Thank you.
I don't have the if I let my hair grow out like that, man, it takes it.
Wow.
It can do it a little bit, but I just like it kept in the fade, man. I'm old school.
When you're not wearing a hat, do you have a lot of tattooed bald men just yell Semper Fi at you?
Not anymore. They used to, but they finally stopped. After a while, I think the gray threw them off. Like I was older and distinguished, like maybe it was an officer or something. But no military here. My grandfather I was raised by my grandparents, and they just always thought keep your hair short. Keep your hair short. I went to the barber, man. It was like in the summer, get it buzzed. In the winter, trim it up. And so I've just kept it short.
You can't do those clippers. You just got to have the clippers rusted. Oh God. Sorry. We have a dignified person joining us. I apologize to the people in the chat. Oh, hey, Eric. Good to see you. We're just talking ball. So national champions, that's where we're at. What are your thoughts on that?
National champions, huh? Basketball, football?
Not basketball.
It's pickleball, but that's fine. We're expanding our repertoire. Quidditch would be nice.
Texas has won that before.
I think so.
So I just understand that you were on with a hot source from the cable company. Are you going to up your package, or what did you decide to do?
No, that was a football source. This channel, of course, will benefit from that eventually once I put all those notes together. But I got off as quick as I could, so I hate being tardy. I didn't want to leave Justin stranded with you too long. So,
well, I got to tell you, we got a lot done. There was a lot. There was a lot of
let me go through these comments, see what I'm missing.
You know what? You don't need to do that. That's not necessary.
Oh, great! The gray looks good.
On task. We were doing what we're paid to do. If presumably I'll get paid sometime, but that's what's happening. It's totally up to, so guys, let's just jump into chat and let's do a super chat. So $500 guarantees that your question will be answered. Eric being tardy to the party. That's right. Thank you.
Hey, okay. I might have to leave on a shirt.
Oh, now you got to leave early?
I might have to leave early. I've been trying to get this kid on the phone for a week and a half, and he's like, "Oh, I'll call tonight at 7:30." I was like, "I can't do 7:30 because I've got a video." But 7:45, I got.
You can take it, Eric. I know who you're talking about. That's more important.
I know.
Take it. That's a good. That's a good story.
Got to feed the beast, man. I got to feed the beast.
Yeah.
There you go.
Justin, how do you feel? And this is a sensitive subject. How do you feel about Sarkisian making $10 million? And here, let me bring this up because I'm reading a book right now. I do that from time to time. And they were going over the average compensation for Division I head football coaches in 2011.
Okay.
Do you want to guess what the median was in 2011?
2.5.
Close. 1.47.
That's not close. You weren't a math major.
No, I wasn't a math major. But I'm saying it's close percentage-wise when you consider that there are people that are 10 million now. The Mac was making 5.1. Saban was making less at 4.8. Stoops was making 4 million. Meyer was making 4 million. And then you've got Chizik, phenomenally, was making 3.5, and Will Muschamp at Florida was 3.2. So we've jumped up almost, 50%, 100% in some cases. Like, do you feel like this is appropriate? I think you should be making that much money.
Yeah, on one hand, I should be making that much money. On the other hand, someone would have to think that that's legit to pay.
Yeah,
me
I wish if Justin was creating $10 million worth of value, oh my Lord, I would love that. I would definitely pay it in a heartbeat.
Here's the thing. I think it's appropriate for the climate we're in right now. Like, we knew Sark was going to get an extension. We knew he was going to get a big bump. I didn't exactly think it was going to be doubled, but you can't go into the SEC with what was it, the 8th or 9th or 10th highest paid head coach and still have that status about being Texas about you. You can't do that.
Well,
the timing was perfect.
What were the TV deals? What were the TV deals in 2011? That's what you have to look at. So as long as
it's true. The biggest TV deal going on right there was for the Pac-12. So that was the big thing that blew up.
Tells you all you need to know right there.
Yeah, that tells you everything you need to know. That was a quality investment.
And look, as long as the players are taken care of, which NIL is designed to do in a way that is market friendly. NIL, where the money's coming straight from the schools, is not a fungible idea, at least at this point, the way it's structured, because you have to pay for all these other sports that don't create revenue. Football coaches create significant revenue, but so do the players. So they have to figure out a way for the players to monetize as well, which is that's where the chaotic stage that we're in. It's trending in that direction. But I wouldn't want to put a cap on Bijan Robinson, same way I wouldn't want to put a cap on a coach or anybody else, because I wouldn't want that put on me.
Well, no, I totally get that, but at the same time, we're trying to figure out some sort of regulatory system, right? And I'm with you. I am 100% with you. The problem with that is, what are we going to do when we're in a situation where is it literally just going to be the few schools that pay for whatever they want, and then we minimize it down? I mean, what is the point?
Kansas just gave Lance Leipold $7 million. That's Kansas, right? And that's a football coach, not a basketball coach. So that's
a good point. So to answer your question, Kalen DeBoer is making around, his buyout money is around 12 million in buyout money. And he's averaging, I think it's like 10 point something million. So he's around Sark right now.
Just a national runner-up. I mean, and it was never going to be cheap to replace Saban, especially with what they were aiming. They were aiming for Sark, Lanning, and DeBoer. So they had to pay. It's not, is he worth it? It's what's it going to cost to get the guy to move from a stable situation? There's a premium. The cost goes up to get somebody out of a stable situation.
No, that was his market. He cornered it in a weird way. He cornered it at the right time, and let me tell you, he was going to get paid anyway. But when Nick left Tuscaloosa, CDC's bat signal went off. It's like, all right, let's get this done now.
Yeah, Saban retiring got a lot of people paid. That was Jimmy
Sexton style.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Do we moving forward with? Well, actually, I don't want to get into that because that could get us in trouble. So we're not going to get in trouble. Let's talk about spring ball, because that's happening real soon. 2 months. During this period of time, Eric?
3 weeks. 3 weeks.
Oh God, is it really 3 weeks?
Yeah, you're going to have a week next week. They'll continue workouts. Then they'll have spring break, and then they start practice right after spring break. So that's coming up.
That is
thankfully, mercifully.
Thankfully, right.
Is this, you were talking about something on the board the other day about this idea of, the crazy period starting up. What can you expand on that a little bit?
Well, I mean, recruiting's about to pick back up. I think on March 4th, prospects are allowed to go visit campuses. So it's called the quiet period. We're in the dead period right now where coaches can't visit high schools and high school players can't visit campuses. But now that's why we keep, yes, that is a Whataburger shirt. See that? I haven't had Whataburger in like 3 years, but I like the shirt. It feels good on my skin.
Such a liar.
No, I swear I haven't. Maybe I can't. Maybe a taquito, freaking 1 a.m. or something. But haven't had
we've gone through the drive-through a few times late at night.
Yeah, there's a ridiculous dive bar right down the street from us that has the best burgers around. So I just stay there. But
oh man,
so we're going back into the live period where our quiet period where prospects are allowed to visit campuses, and that's why we were compiling a master list at Inside Texas. We're updating it daily. There's probably over 40 or 50 visits listed right now between March and the spring game. And so you're going to have a lot of campus activity. You're going to have a lot of kids doing 7-on-7 stuff. Track meets are a great time for college football recruiting because you have access to kids in it's an environment where they're comfortable. They're relaxed, except for when they're getting ready to compete. So yeah, I love this time of year. February is the worst, but March is good, and the gears change each time. So we're about to hit second gear in March, and then April's going to pick up spring game visits, and then May the coaches can get on the road. Actually, on April 15th, the coaches get on the road and go evaluate high schools again, and that's a fun period for recruiting fans. And then June's ridiculous, and July's madness with the guys making announcements.
Justin, what are your feelings about Jonte?
Yeah, good to see you, UT boy. Always a pleasure. Glad you're hanging out with us tonight. My feelings about Jonte haven't changed. I think he's a phenomenal young football player. I think he's a phenomenal young man. The kid's got utmost upside. He's got a real good mindset. He came into college ready to play football. He came in knowing if he does this and he does that, he can accomplish what he wants to accomplish. Very focused kid. Really good route runner, really good hands. I'm eager to see them rely on him in 2024. I want to see him be a guy that catches 4 or 5 balls on a Saturday, because each time those catches, you get them, that confidence builds. And then you really start to – that's when we're going to see Jonte take his game to the next level, when he has that 5 or 6 catch game, because that's really when it's where it starts. And so – but the beauty of Sark said, we love Jonte, but we need more wide receivers in the room. So he went and brought in a whole new group of guys, from Matthew Golden to Isaiah Bolden to Silas Bolden, Isaiah Bond rather. So now Jonte's got some competition, and I don't think he would have it any other way.
If you had one player that you were most excited about seeing in the spring game, who would that be?
Me or Eric?
Well, it's an open question. I think this is a discussion format. We can just throw it around.
Jure Bledsoe. I just keep hearing great things about him. I heard an interesting tidbit this morning, or right before the call, that he's up over 290, right around 300 pounds. And so that tells me he's getting ready to skyrocket.
Mine would be, boy, that's a good question. Man, that's a really good question. I think I would probably go with Derek Williams.
Okay.
This is his first spring in Austin. This is his first time to where that he has that 6-month window to cram the defense and to nail down a starting position or restart essentially. So I want to see, if there's one guy I want to see burst, because if Derek Williams is playing like we think he can play in that back end, this defense is going to be good. It's going to be different than 2023, but in a good way. Because what 2023 offered you, it held back a few guys. And I think in 2024, we're going to see some blossoming from those guys. And so if I had a guy, give me the Raptor. Let's go to Jurassic Park. I mean, there's only 7 sequels, but there's only one Derek Williams.
Wow. Okay.
That's a good pick.
What do we so we've got the combine starting up. Who are we? And I know we've written about this, so this isn't new, but who do we think from our Texas squad is just going to absolutely tear this up?
Well, I think they're all going to tear up individual events in different ways. Worthy's going to run a fast 40. I can't wait to see what Byron Murphy throws up on 225, just as a pure novel curiosity. Hopefully he comes out in the old strongman unitard and just throws up 35 or something. They're all going to interview well. They're all going to, that's kind of coming out of the Starks culture. They're going to do well in that aspect. Some better than others. Jalen Ford is going to kill it in that regard. Jalen Ford is going to kill it when they take pictures of him in underwears. You got the famous Tom Brady one looking like super dad. But Jalen Ford is going to kill it in that regard. Byron Murphy is too. Adonai Mitchell. I'm looking forward to see how they perform. But I want to see something different from each one of them. Xavier Worthy has to demonstrate good hands. I'm curious to see how fast Jordan Whittington runs. I think he's going to run a better 40 than people realize. Obviously, Ryan Watts needs to run a good 40. So there's a lot of individual curiosities attached to each of them.
I'm curious what that scale is going to read when T'Vondre Sweat steps onto it. We know it wouldn't have been great at the Senior Bowl, but since our Charlie Williams went and hung out with him last week, I think it's going to look a lot better now. And so I'm curious, Sweat's weight, because he carries it so well. Even if he's a little big, his violent hands and his movement, it's tough. And so I don't think he can get out of the second round without being drafted. Jatavian Sanders is the one guy I think could have a 10-year starting career. He's the one guy in the right system. Take him with the Rams, for instance. I think that would be a great spot for him to sort of play with Gerald Everett and be able to sort of get into the pro style. There's a lot of questions. Jonathan Brooks, this guy isn't going to be able to really work out until he gets to a camp.
Right.
And so where does he go? Third, fourth round. Running backs aren't much of a priority in the draft anymore. I feel like he'll get picked when there's a run on running backs, unlike a lot of other positions. There's a lot of questions, a lot of thoughts, and that's why we're talking about it every day at InsideTexas.com.
Adonai Mitchell should go in the first. I think teams are crazy to pass on him.
The Chiefs cut 2 receivers this week, and we had heard they love Adonai before that happened. So, yeah. It wouldn't be a bad prop bet if a Mitchell or a Worthy, Adonai Mitchell or Xavier Worthy, wind up on a Kansas City roster.
If Mitchell came back for another season, he would go as high as Malik Neighbors or Roma Dunze this year. If he came back for one more, so for a team that can afford to draft that guy early and they don't need him immediately, maybe everybody needs him, but a team that can afford for that guy to develop a little bit, smart pick in the back end of the first round.
Oh yeah, I'd like to there's a couple things we want to talk about. Let's see. Inside Texas is super. The only drag is LC. It's a bit too goofy and not football. I don't know what that word means. It's too much fluff.
Your aunt, Olga?
She said all the rest are tops, so that makes you a bottom, I think.
Well, if we're gonna go there, I'm definitely.
Oh man,
he has a catcher personality.
Yeah, it's fine. It's not a big deal. I'm not even remotely upset about it, Olga. Brett Nelson has sent us and asking some marital advice. So this is you've come to the right place.
I'm the guy to ask.
So Brett got away with naming his son after Colt McCoy first. Presumably he named him McCoy. And then he wants to try to name his next child Quinn. How are we going to pull this off, lads?
Quinn's got to win the Natty.
Okay.
Then it's almost a law, an unwritten rule, so to speak. But then if he doesn't win a national championship, Brett's going to be – that's a hard negotiation. Names are tough, Eric. You know it. Elsie, you know it. Names can be tough.
Yeah, you want something that's not super, super common unless you're doing it for a family reason or maybe biblical or something, Right. But I like Quinn. I mean, Quinn is it works for either sex, I think. So you have that going. So I really don't think she has an excuse. But here's what you can't jeopardize this dual income that you've got working because we rely on the super chats. So don't do anything to distress the dual incomes.
That's a good point. What about a nice? So what do we got? What's Brett's last name? Let's look at this. Nelson.
Quinn Nelson.
Like a nice Sadir.
Wait, Quinn Nelson is a giant offensive. Is that Quentin Nelson?
Why don't you name? Hey, Brett, William.
Yeah,
and you know what to call him if his name's William and he lives in Texas.
Yeah, and if it's a girl, you can still braid the hair.
Oh, there you go. I don't know. Willie got away with braiding the hair.
Man, Willie can do whatever he wants.
That's a fair point. So, Justin, this is a challenge specifically for you, but Eric, I'd love for you to chime in. You're not allowed to choose the original Jurassic Park. What is the greatest Jurassic Park movie outside of the first Jurassic Park? This will fall into that fluff category Olga was worried about earlier.
Jurassic World.
Okay.
Which was the first of the third series.
Yeah.
With Chris Pratt. That one to me, and I can't tell you about the other two because I haven't seen them. But okay. Jurassic World I thought was a really good movie. My son is really into that stuff. He went through a stage where he could tell you damn near every dinosaur, and he's kind of out of it now. So I lost touch. And apparently Chris Bennett, that's my boy right there. He's telling me they're bringing out another Jurassic Park.
Yeah, it's very exciting news.
I got a question for you, LC. In this industry, when are we going to have original screenplays? When are we going to have stuff from the 80s where everything was original and everything was hidden and everything was wonderful and perfect? What happened?
Are you telling me you're not excited about Amazon Streaming's remake of Roadhouse? That's not getting the juices flowing for you?
I don't want to punch my laptop.
They're already doing the what's the one with Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt where there's both
Mrs.
Jones.
They're already redoing that. It's terrible. But Jurassic Park, I don't do sci-fi. I did read Michael, I think that's Michael Crichton, right?
Michael Crichton.
I read Andromeda Strain that he wrote. That was a good book, but
that's a good book.
We should try to talk some football so we can keep some viewers.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Well, to be fair, we've actually gone up since Olga slagged me off, so I think we're doing pretty good. What do we need?
You do catch a lot of strays. I don't know. You have your defenders. You're the most. They're the one that everybody takes a hard stance on. There's no in between, it seems.
Yeah, it's the same way in my house. I'm cool with it. I'm pretty accustomed to the way it works.
The most polarizing host in the market.
Great guacamole has a good question.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Because I only say that because one, it's great guacamole, and two, I know the answer. Yeah, Arch's real name is Archibald, and he's named after his grandfather Archibald, who is obviously called Archie, and so it's May, Archibald, and Hyde, and Hyde his little brother will be attending University of Texas next fall.
What is just as a normal civilian?
Yes.
Yes. He told me recently that he's going to retire from his athletic career so he can focus on what's important, school, homework, and other stuff.
Owning the Greek life. That dude's going to have a better college experience than Arch.
That guy is, that's a good setup.
He's the best. I was at the Manning Passing Academy 2 years ago, and he's out there as a receiver. Lots of different guys. Everybody has on an Academy shirt, a Manning Academy shirt, all of them, except for Hyde. He has a Baywatch shirt on with Pamela Anderson and Nicole Eggert on the front. Oof. And I'm like, you're a champion. And
Eggert from Charles in Charge was legit.
Oh God, dude. And I like the tall chick from Charles in Charge. They were all good. And Willie Ames, if I had a sidekick like Willie Ames, Inside Texas would be even better.
All right. We got a question.
I'm sorry. I got one right here. Here it is. I'm just thinking of our producer. So returners, we lost Worthy. How are we doing this? How are we going to move on?
Well, kick returner's got to be Matthew Golden. He's one of the best in the country. So they're actually going to be better on kick returns than they were last year. And you can always put Jaden Blue back there if you want as well. Punt returner, I think it's going to be maybe Golden, maybe Bond. Jonte Cook is sensational at it. So I could see Jonte doing it.
I think Jonte is going to get some of the punting duties as well. Golden on kickoff that's an upgrade. That makes Jeff Banks real happy.
They got Silas Bolden they could put back there at punt return too, probably.
The speed that they brought in is ridiculous. Like to me, that's the story of the wide receiver room / special teams units.
Great guacamole. Hyde is spelled H-E-I-D.
Okay.
Don't know the story behind that one.
How are we viewing? Because I understand that it's a very short period of time. We've got a small sample size. How are we feeling about Baker coming in? Do we feel pretty good about his work so far?
Brandon Baker?
Kenny Baker than we thought.
Oh, sorry, coach.
Oh, I thought you meant Brandon Baker. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, I mean, it's just too early. Everybody's freaking out because, guys aren't jumping in. I think communication was a little lax when he first got to Texas. Surprisingly, some of the guys that we talked to hadn't talked to him yet. Some of the top targets, he has talked to Zion Williams a number of times, which I think is key there. He went and saw Landon Rink early, which was interesting because I think A&M's leading for the legacy from Cy Falls. But fans tend to worry about stuff this time of year because they need something to worry about. It gets them through. But he's got a tough task ahead of him recruiting, but he's also caught some tailwinds too because the state has plenty of options, a lot more than normal. And also, he feels pretty confident that he can open up the Southeast given that his familiarity with the region. So far too early to worry about it, but it is the most important position in the class, bar none.
Do we think that, just transitioning a little bit back to the wide receivers, do we feel like Niblett and Moore, given all that we've brought in, or do you reckon they're going to see much of the field?
It's a tough call because of how Sark, tends to not substitute his wide receivers quite as much. But Moore is definitely ready. There's without a doubt. Moore, Niblett, and Bond are the three fastest receivers on the team. Niblett came in a little bit more raw, kind of played positionless football in high school. But Moore's ready. He can play inside or outside. So whether or not Moore sees the field, that's going to be coach's decision. But I know that he's ready to see the field.
Yeah.
How do we feel about Kobe Black coming in? Is he going to make the two deep? Where are we on that?
I'm not so sure because if you've got Malik at one and Terrence at the other, and then Roberson and Gavin Holmes. Gavin Holmes has experience. That experience goes a long way. I do expect him to play this season. I don't know if he'll be on the. I don't think he'll be on the two deep to open the season. If he'll be on the roster, of course, probably at boundary corner. But I think he would be three. Maybe they put an or there. But yeah, there's a lot of experience, and I think Warren Roberson is definitely on the come up behind the scenes for sure.
The difference in him and Manny Muhammad was Manny came in and took a spot. Like he just took a spot last year, whereas Kobe's got two guys there that have been there for a bit.
Well, Manny got help from Ryan Watts getting hurt. So I mean, obviously, if there's injuries, but Black, I don't. He'll play this year, but I don't think he'll be on the two deep. But the year after that, he's going to be competing. He's going to be competing to start.
He's going to have to.
This is an atypical live because obviously Joe's not here and it's been a little bit hectic. So we're going to go back to D-line and I want you to talk to me a little bit about Ethan Utley because we talked about Baker and his recruiting. How's the recruitment of Utley going?
It's funny. We talked to a few guys and they'd say, "Oh, I've met Coach Baker," or "I haven't talked to him yet." You talk to Ethan Utley and he's like, "I love that guy. That guy's great." So we know that Coach Baker's out there kicking the tires. We know he's out there making contacts. Ethan Utley dropped a top 5, I want to say right after Christmas. And Texas had made it because of Bo Davis and because Texas had a pretty good little foundation. Bo Davis obviously heads to Baton Rouge. Kenny Baker went in, slid in, and has done pretty well to the point where Utley's looking at a spring game trip. I wouldn't be surprised if he takes an official visit in June. He's got some big news coming up in the next few days. I don't want to spoil anything, but he's got some big news coming up, and I think Texas is in a really good position there. Now, I think Tennessee might be the quiet leader in that. I know Michigan is trying to push here a little bit, but just the way Utley talked about Sark and talked about Coach Baker and talked about how the program, the trajectory going into the SEC, I hear that a lot, going into the SEC with a lot of momentum. Utley's a guy kind of proves Eric's point. You can be, you don't have, there's so many guys for D tackle in the 2025 cycle. If you miss on one or two guys, you can make up for it. And to me, Ethan Utley, he's a 4-star. He's a guy that's got some really good tape. Would I put him in the Zion Williams category? Probably not, but he'd be right underneath it. And I think he could be valuable. And so Texas is building with him. Sark and these guys don't push. LC, they just don't. They play the long game. And as long as they continue that relationship, I think Sark has a good timer for when to push those buttons, especially like during official visit season. And so catching up with Utley recently, he really likes Texas. He thinks Kenny Baker's perfect for the job. And let's just say he said all the right things.
Has that strategy changed at all, Eric, in terms of when to push, when to hold back with obviously all the changes that are happening in college football right now. Have you seen Sark make any adjustment to that, or has he been pretty?
I think they've been more proactive in the way that they're scheduling their official visits well in advance. Marcus Harris had an official visit planned in January. There's a number of guys that are starting to set him up right now, and we're still, 3 months away. So he's changed in that regard as far as, he's making sure that invitation is out early to get their place at the dance. But, it really bit them in the 2021 or the summer of 2021 for the 2022 class. They were a little bit laid back on some kids, lost a guy to A&M that they probably would have had if they would have pushed harder. I think it changed them a little bit, but overall they still don't want to pressure. And part of it is they don't know who they really want. They still don't know who they truly want. So that plays into the fact that they don't pressure, and they tell kids to take their time, because right now their big board is going to rearrange. They just got off the road in January. They spent much of February rearranging their big board to prioritize who they really wanted. They're going to do the same thing again in May. And then in June, that's when things change. They know who they want by June. Official visits, they start pushing, like Justin said. And then July, it's all about closing time.
Is that a common time frame or calendar for them, or was that adjusted? Did they have to adjust that at all because of the playoffs this year?
No, that's typical for how they've been doing it. They were extremely patient in 2023. They were confident they would get Arch, and then that would kind of take care of the momentum, creating momentum. But a lot of programs, but every program has different circumstances. Texas can't offer and push for every kid in Texas because a lot of kids in Texas want to go to UT.
Yeah.
So they're going to jump on that offer. So Texas has to be a little bit more hesitant with in-state kids. Otherwise, they're just going to end up offering a kid that they have to slow down. Other schools like OU are way more aggressive. A&M is being aggressive. They've got a new staff, so you expect that. And their roster isn't the same as Texas's. It's not as deep. So Texas is in a position to be a little bit more selective. It's going to cost them on a recruit or two, but overall, it's going to pay off.
One of the rooms that seems to be getting deeper, and I know that you wrote about this on the site, is the tight end room. We're thinking already we're going to bring in more than one in the next class. Can you expand on that a little bit? Is that a strategy for just depth, or are those players bringing different qualities to it?
Both. I mean, they're going to lose some guys. They're going to lose Gunnar Helm and Juan Davis. Nyblack, there's a chance Nyblack catches a couple 50-yard touchdowns and then off to the NFL. So they need to go with a big class, but also it's a perfect time to do it. You want to do it when the state is abundant with talent. That's when you want to load up. You don't just load up to load up. And so right now there's a number of tight ends they're after. They've got one committed in Emory Winston. They're after two extremely good ones, better than most tight ends you'll find. It might take you 5 years to find tight ends like these guys. In Nick Townsend from Spring to Caney and Keontae Armstrong from Jasper. So now's the time to do it. And Banks hasn't had his load-up class. Every coach has had a load-up class except for Banks in his time at Texas. I think it's his term this year.
This is a question for our friend Justin here, and this is to do with Barnes or Pettijohn. Which one has more upside coming out of high school?
No, they're saying more than Anthony Hill.
More than Anthony Hill. Oh, gosh.
And I know that answer. But Riley's close.
Yeah. Does Barnes or Pettijohn have more upside than Anthony Hill? I'm going to say no. But like Eric said, look, actually, Inside Texas caught up with both those guys on Saturday. You know what they were doing? They were both running in the 4x1 relay, and they're both big linebackers. Now, that's just gorgeous. Like, I love everything about that. Riley is a legit 6'3". He's like a taller version of Ty Anthony Smith to me. He really plays that rangy spot. He's got great instincts. And then you got Elijah Barnes, who, his dad told us he's at 225, 230 right now, running the anchor leg on the 4x1. And he does it to compete. He knows he's not going to beat Caden Durham from Duncanville. Yeah. He says, but I'm going to be right behind him. And so these are really competitive guys. Look, Anthony Hill was almost like a unicorn. That kid was born a linebacker. Like, literally, he came out. The dad played linebacker at Emporia State, and he said, you shall also be a linebacker. And so he trained him to be a linebacker his whole life. And so the kid's a freaking unicorn.
And he's got that mentality. He's got that mentality and linebacker disposition. They don't make him like Hill. You're not doing anybody justice comparing him to Hill.
The next Anthony Hill is going to be from the class of 2030, and that's Landon Hill, his little brother. If Landon is not a wide receiver or a tight end, there's your next comparative to the Anthony Hill linebacker.
Well, with the Hill family and their production of football players, I'd be curious to see, how was Anthony trained as a toddler to be a linebacker? What kind of drills was he doing? Was he fed differently? Was his playpen just full of tackling dummies? Can you expand on that a little bit, Justin?
I can give away a little bit of it. I can tell you a little bit. Mat drills were a common thing in that house.
That makes more
Probably
sense.
Since I think that's how he learned to crawl.
Fair enough.
Doing the bear crawl out on the football field. That's how he learned. They had Oklahoma drill with other kids in the daycare. It didn't end well.
Yeah.
It was a constant, just fueling a young competitive athlete. And if you ask Anthony, he thought he was going to be a running back, because he played a lot of running back in middle school and in high school. And you remember he went to the same. He grew up around guys like Ryan Watts and Terrence Brooks and those guys. He was from Euless Trinity originally. And so, yeah, Anthony Hill's he's a unicorn. That guy's been bred to play linebacker his whole life. And Texas fans enjoy the hell out of him for the next 2 years, because that joker is gone after a junior.
What are we hearing about? Is Winston, is he a take regardless, or due to him being in a battleground state of Georgia?
Well, I think he's a take. He just set up his official visit today. I don't know why he wouldn't be a take. They took him early, knowing it was going to be a big class. And, the beauty about him is he doesn't take looks away from anybody. He's a whole different type of tight end. He's more of an H-back, fullback. You can do a little bit of anything with him. He's a guy that his value is going to be unnoticed by a lot of fans, but he's going to allow the Sark to do a lot of different things schematically, very similar to Ben Sinnott, number 34 for Kansas State, or a lot of those guys that OU had in the past that somehow just always roll out and they're open in the flat, but are lead blockers at times. Yeah, he's got really good hands. He's got really good hands. He's a
great basketball player.
He's an interesting player. I love that kid. It's not the sexiest take of all time, and he's not all that tall, whatever. He doesn't look like all the beasts you're seeing in the NFL ripping down the seams. But he's a really good, versatile player, and I like his hands. He's an interesting one. I'm glad he's in the class. And again, you still got Nick Townsend would fit perfectly. Keontae Armstrong would fit perfectly. You got to worry about A&M there. But Emory's a really good take for the versatility he brings.
Eric, would you agree that Winston, this isn't even a question if he's in the class of 2024?
I don't. They just got to hold on to him. That's the whole thing.
Exactly. Like, it's just because the state crop of tight ends in 2025 got better. There's a couple guys they were still on that committed to other schools. Jack Van Dorslier, that kid is incredible. I thought he would be a great take. He went ahead and jumped in the boat at Tennessee. Yeah, Keontae Armstrong, Nick Townsend. If Winston was 2024, nobody's asking about if he's a take.
Yeah, the kid at Terrell's good too.
DeAndre Johnson.
Some of the guys out of state that they like. But yeah, Emory's fun because he's gonna give Sark a whole different weapon to scheme and create misdirection and get numbers advantages at the point of attack. There's just so many different things you can do with Emory. He adds a lot more value to Sark than he probably does to the people that are stargazing.
When you are, and you'll forgive the phrasing of this question, but we hear this a lot with a take. What is a tight end take for Sark? What are the qualities that he's looking for there?
Well, he's looking for all different types because he prefers to run 12 personnel. So, if you look at the guys he's taken in the past or brought in, Jaleel Billingsley, who was just basically a plus-sized wide receiver that, he didn't do anything at Texas, but we saw his athleticism at Alabama and his usage at Alabama. But he also wants the inline blocker that's going to do a lot of dirty work but still get out in the open, which is Gunnar Hilm this year and Amari Niblack. So he likes to pair two entirely different sorts of tight ends. And that's what I'm saying. Even Emory Winston is different from those guys because he'll be a short motion H-back, fullback. Jatavian did some of that this year, but I don't think he's got that same skill set as Emory. But Jatavian's a good example of a guy that you can flex out and play him as a wide receiver or bring back in. He's a little bit more versatile than Amari, where Amari's a little undersized, and then Gunnar's bigger but not quite as versatile as a receiver. So he's a bit of a unicorn that way. But yeah, he wants disparate skill sets because he's going to deploy them entirely differently.
And I know we've talked about this, but we're going to talk again about the secondary, specifically the projected starters of the secondary. What are we thinking there? Now, Victor seems to think he's got T. Brooks and Muhammad on the outside, Barron at nickel with D. Williams and Makuba. What are your thoughts there, Justin?
Victor nailed it. That would be my starting five right there. That would be it. Victor Santiago, new stringer intern for InsideTexas.com. T. Brooks and Muhammad on the outsides, Barron at the star, and then Derek Williams and Makuba at safety. Michael Taft, they're going to have to fight him off. Listen, Michael Taft, he's a battler. That guy knows more about that defense than a lot of guys. So that there's 2 years ago, there was a worry about the lack of athleticism in the safety position. That has changed remarkably in about 24 months. And so I think Victor nailed it. There's obviously going to be some fluctuation from rotations and things of that sort, but those are the 5 that I think are your starters week 1.
Any additions or subtractions there, Eric?
No, it's almost certainly going to be that grouping.
Right.
Wouldn't surprise me at all. A lot could happen, but yeah, I just, I don't know. I don't think so. I think Taft is going to play a lot. He's probably going to play starter snaps, but I think it's, Derek Williams and Makuba's to lose when it's all said and done. Makuba's got to earn it.
Taft is going to be the big brother for Jelani McDonald, who's going to be the next superstar safety at Texas. So I think Taft's job now is, hey, get Jelani ready. And they'll be running with the 2.
You mean the next superstar safety? They don't have a superstar yet, so it's got to be after Derek.
Okay, we can go after Derek.
Well, Derek's not a superstar yet. I mean, they didn't even play him in the back half of important games because they were a little bit worried about. And he was way more advanced than I expected to even be out there as much as he was without being an early enrollee. But he still has some work left to do too. He's not a finished product, but his upside is through the roof. That's for sure.
Don't forget, he didn't even play the first half of the college football playoff, Eric. So you're right.
Yeah.
What is because we're just betting people, what's the over-under on T-Sweat's 40 time? We're going to give, and the establishing line here is 4.85.
5.23.
5.23?
Yeah. He's going to be
5.01.
He's going to, if he runs a 5.01 at 345 pounds, oh man, that'd be crazy.
If he's 345 pounds, man, I'm telling you, he ain't going to be that small.
You don't think he dropped 3 pounds?
I think he could get to 345. I just think it'll take an act of God.
Nah, I don't know. The bigger you are, the easier it is to lose weight. I mean, if you want to. You're also big for a reason, so it's a bit of a conundrum. But yeah, I mean, if he puts his mind to it, weight's going to peel off of that guy without a problem. It would be like us losing 5 pounds if we wanted to.
Yeah.
Who is the Brock Cunningham on the football team?
I'll take this one.
Justin? Okay, great.
Last night was the first time I had ever seen a basketball player called for targeting in college sports. And it was phenomenal. It was awesome. Texas went into Lubbock and basically spanked the crap out of them in the last game that those two are going to play for a very long time. Who is the Brock Cunningham of the football team? I don't know. The dude's been playing ball at Texas, it feels like 6 or 7 years. Maybe he's got a little bit of eligibility left. Maybe he can be a special teamer, a gunner, so to speak. But, yeah, the Brock Cunningham on the football team was probably Jet Bush.
You took a question for an answer you didn't have? I'll take this one, or will I?
Oh, no. I say it's either probably Jet Bush or Cole Hudson. Give me that guy.
It's got to be a high energy guy that comes in. It could be Savion Red. Cunningham's got a little crazy to him, I think, out there.
So Savion.
All right, guys. We're nearing the mark, and I need to make sure that we get all of your questions in. So please hit us up with those questions, or else I'm going to have to release Eric so he can get back on the phone with his cable company. Anybody have anything? Is there anything that you guys want to close with, talk to these fine folks about?
No, I see Brett Nelson left. He's probably getting an earful right now. Worried about him. Hope he's all right. Need to do a welfare check on him on the site.
Will the Astros make the playoffs this season? That is a good question.
Okay.
Did we really get asked that?
Yeah, we did.
Yes. I can tell you that, yes, the Astros will make the playoffs. They are built to last. They will make the playoffs for the foreseeable future.
They'll probably grind their way to it like they did last year. Yeah. We'll see.
Absolutely.
Trey Moore, yeah, Trey. Well, I mean, UT boy, you're the one that told me earlier he was a dog. But, yeah, he appears to be the real deal right now. Justin and I have both heard updates on him. Very quick. Very, very quick, which is going to help him overcome some of the length limitations that he's going to have playing the step up in competition. So that quickness is going to aid him quite a bit. Hard worker, focused, business-like. He's impressing people. I think he's going to be very good this year. Maybe not 15 sacks or 14 and a half, whatever he had last year, but I could see him having 8-9 sacks, no doubt.
He might have the best first step in that room.
That's
First
what
10 to
they're
20
saying.
seconds, he is elite in that range.
Our next commit, offensive side or defensive side of the ball?
I would go defense.
Offense.
Okay, good.
Battle royal.
Offense.
Thank God.
Well, who's your guy?
He runs really well with the ball.
Answering questions without answer. I would go Floyd Guidry. That's why I said.
I didn't want to give it away. I think the next guy could, if it's an offensive guy, give me Ricky Stewart Jr. Chapel Hill running back.
That's fair.
Which freshman running back will make the biggest splash in the spring? Clark or Gibson?
Gibson.
Okay.
Clark's just, not nearly as refined as Gibson.
Built. Gibson looked like he put on 20 pounds his senior year. That dude looks like he is a load.
Yeah, he doesn't need to weigh anymore. There's diminishing returns on muscle mass at running back. He doesn't, unless he's just trying to be Rock Cartwright again.
That's a name. That's a throwback.
He was good, though. He was pretty good.
Yeah, hell yeah.
All right, guys. Closing them up here. We're going to start with Eric. You get to start. You have the last word, and then we'll go to Justin.
The last word is, go over to Inside Texas. We're going to be covering the combine. It's a good way to enjoy these guys one last time as Longhorns before they really go off their separate ways and play professionally in towns we don't care about, teams we don't like. So this is a good chance to celebrate their Longhorn glory and their last year. These guys played a major role in bringing UT back. Go celebrate them and support them.
Justin, the floor is yours.
Brett Nelson.